Hello everyone, M4J here, and welcome back to M4J-Hatfield Racing here on F1 2021, and we travel to Spa for the Belgian Grand Prix. This is actually a race I was looking forward to at the start of the season. Then obviously we had our hiccups in Monaco and Azerbaijan and Spain. I mean, I don't think I've ever completed a race in Spain. And because of that, I was starting to panic a little bit. I thought, oh no, this is going to be torture. Thankfully... that was a nice transition there, actually. Thank you, Tom. Thankfully, we have improved since. We had points finishes in Austria, France, Britain, and Hungary. We did it in Hungary. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we had points finishes. Oh, yeah, because we finished 10th. Thanks to Hamilton's little mechanical oopsie. But here we are then in Spa. And I was feeling quietly confident, actually, about Spa. Always nervous, particularly... bus stop chicane, which wasn't too bad for me during practice in qualifying, and also Eau Rouge and Radion. Now, this part of the track here is always perilous. I don't know why I hit the wall there. I was so busy looking up ahead to pick my line, I just forgot there's a wall on the right, and then drove straight into it, as you saw. That's not the only time I did that, by the way. I did that like 2 or 3 other times during practice and qualifying. Hopefully Tom's kept a couple of them in, just to show that I can be a donkey sometimes. Here we are then at the top of the hill, here at Spa, the highest point on the circuit, I believe. And then we start the charge downhill. Now this corner here, the reverse camber really screwed me. I actually nailed it this time around, but during the race especially, kept running a little bit wide there because you brake going downhill anyway, so it's harder to brake. And then the track bends away from where you're trying to go. And it just pushes you out wide. This part here, I did a full 360 spin when I raced there in the Racing Games co-op career. Here though, I managed to hold it together. A little bit slow around this section. I think I'm in, 5th gear. I don't think that's right. I think I'm supposed to be in 4th. And then coming out of this corner here. Now this is the beginning of the flat out section. But as you can see, I had some troubles on that right-hander. I think throughout the entire weekend, I only managed to get around that corner flat out twice. May only have been once, in fact. It's an absolute nightmare. Now, the rest of the track, I think I did pretty well on. But bus stop chicane here, braking early is always key. But when you're racing, sometimes you forget that little fact. And it can become a bit of a pain to actually get the car slowed down in time. There's me absolutely nailing tyre management, by the way. I used to hate that one last year. This year, I seem to be really good at it. There's the opening hairpin. Completely whiffed that one too. Am I telling... Yeah, tell Jeff that we're boxing this lap. Just going to check the notes to see where we are quickly. Oh, yeah, tapping the wall whilst pitting. Again, there's some bits of this track that I love. And there's some bits of this track that I despise. There's me absolutely whiffing one of the race management laps as well. I believe the real life Spa, they have done some track work up Eau Rouge and Radion. They've opened it up a little bit more. So I believe the layout of the track itself remains the same. But they've increased the runoff and added some gravel traps to try and slow cars down. Particularly after what happened to Lando last year in the F1. I think that was the final straw. Because we've seen fatal accidents, unfortunately, in F2 in recent years. On that corner. And other... race events as well, not fatal accidents but serious accidents. I think Lando in the wet last year was the final straw really, so they've increased the runoff area, which I'm all for. I think the track layout itself doesn't need to change, but the runoff definitely did. There's me completely messing up that corner. You can see how far ahead I am of the Delta right now. It's a really fun track once you've like got your braking points and things sorted out. And again, I wrote the track guide for Racing Games for this track. But I tend to use a good lap from somebody else as a guide. No matter, I think twice maybe I did the lap guides. One for Hungary, one for Spain. I might have done Azerbaijan as well, thinking about it. But in time trial, there's no damage. So if you hit the wall, you just come around and go again. And, you know, when you're watching a frame-by-frame replay of a lap, there's me almost messing that corner up again. I always think that wall on the left looks like a Lego set as well, which is weird. But yeah, when you're doing a frame-by-frame analysis, you can pick your braking points really, really carefully. When you're actually out on track, it can be difficult. And I'm not that kind of driver. There are people who are very, very good at watching videos of braking points and racing lines, and they'll memorize it and they'll just do it from memory. I've got a very good memory, I like to think, but I'm still not very good at that side of racing. I'm very much an instinctive racer. This is the end of P2. See, I was 9th fastest. Not too bad. A second and a half down on Lando, funnily enough. I'm just going to talk over Crofty here. It's fine. The notes say I can talk over this bit, so I'm going to talk over this bit. But yeah, I was really happy with my P2 performance. You know, I'm faster than Bottas, faster than, was that Hamilton? I think it said there as well, maybe not. But to be faster than either of the Mercedes is an achievement in itself, and it's good to see Lando up at the top as well, challenging for podiums. Obviously, this is practice; it's not a full representation of what the race might be like, but it's still encouraging nonetheless. So that's the end of practice then. Again, pretty happy, can't complain too much. And we go into qualifying feeling confident, which is a rare feeling to have going into qualifying. Normally I'm bricking it at this point because practice is still fine, don't get me wrong, but there are points where you have a really good practice and then you get into qualifying and then you start seeing the real times that everyone else is setting and you kind of go, oh crap. And seeing Bottas there doing a 1:48, pressure was definitely on. The AlphaTauri here did me no favours whatsoever. At that point they should just pull over and let you pass because I'm on the wrong side here to get up Eau Rouge and Radion. Thankfully the car remains stuck to the ground. Again, I'm using the car setup from racinggames.gg. If you just go on racinggames.gg, type in Belgium or Belgian, you'll get the setup. They've got dry and wet setups, which I think is fantastic if you want to really test yourself by doing Spa in the wet and achieving what the real life F1 couldn't last year. They've got some really, really good car setups, and I do notice the difference as well. I'm not just saying that, genuinely notice the difference whenever I get out on track. Really good opening to the lap, purple first sector. Considering Bottas has come through with the fastest time as well, this isn't just because I'm first one out on track. Unfortunately, the middle sector, a little bit messy going around the top of the hill there. So by the time I get down to here, and I really wish I could remember the corner names. I know there's one called La Source, but I think that might actually be the one coming up here. Either this right-hander or the next one. We're about as far away from the pits as you can get right now. And there's the end of that. Trying to be a fastest lap. Again, not too much damage. A little bit of bump to the front left wing there. Another purple second sector as well, by the way, which I was very surprised about. But very little front traction now on that left-hand side. Low speed corners here, though, so it's not too bad. And then, you know, it's one more run to the line anyway. So I do go fastest in Q1, very briefly, very, very briefly. Then, unfortunately, this happened. Just lost the traction, lost all traction. I don't know if Tom's included the replays or not, but I was showing my girlfriend what happened, and yeah, just couldn't believe it had happened, to be honest. I was just sat there speechless. I did the exact same line that I did all the other times, and yet that one, I lost it. I've no idea how, I've no idea why, but I lost it. Unfortunately, that meant I was out in Q1. I nearly made it, though, through to Q2. Came 16th. Delatraz down in 22nd, but I so nearly made it out. And technically, I did make it out. You see?
Well, things didn't really go your way today. Let's have your take. Who would you say is your biggest rival at the moment? How do you think this team will be feeling after that result? Appreciate your time.
Welcome along then to the Belgian Grand Prix, the race that gave us the maiden victory for the Jordan team in 1998. And in the same team, the phenomenal debut of a young Michael Schumacher. There's always something special around one of the many corners of this fan favourite circuit. Spa-Francorchamps today, a circuit that spans 4.35 miles. There are tons of elevation changes along the way too. 19 corners making up this circuit, with 9 of those to the right and the remaining 10 to the left. This track is a great one for fans of pure speed. The average lap speed comes close to a whopping 145 miles an hour. Alongside me to discuss all the action today is Anthony Davidson. Thanks for joining us, Ant, and tell me, you were down in the pit lane earlier. How do you think the track conditions are today?
Well, it's looking a bit cold out there, if I'm honest. These tyres have quite a narrow operating window in terms of the temperatures they need to extract the best grip. So with a cold track surface, it's going to be harder to keep those temperatures up, which will lead to lower grip and maybe more mistakes.
Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks for today's race. It's Sergio Perez on pole position today, edging out Max Verstappen, who'll start from P2. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Hamilton, Norris, Daniel Ricciardo and Leclerc, Sainz, Gasly, Vettel and Yuki Tsunoda, Fernando Alonso, Stroll, Kimi Raikkonen and Ocon, Bottas, the engineer, Antonio Giovinazzi and George Russell, Mick Schumacher, Latifi, Mazepin and Louis Delatraz. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track.
Now, as I was saying there, I did technically make it out of Q1, but I think because I crashed, they just decided to let, you know, whoever was in 16th place up and then demoted me down to 16th, which is fair enough, I suppose. I clearly wasn't going to be driving in Q2. Now, this was an interesting start. You see there, I chose Ocon as my rival and then punted him straight up the exhaust pipe on the race start. He brake checked me, basically. I'm going to use the Hamilton card. He brake checked me. It was a bit unorthodox. Then there was me colliding with the wall on the right-hand side again. I had a terrible start to this race. As you can see, warning for corner cutting as well. Just awful start. But we get to the Kemmel Straight. This is the Kemmel Straight, isn't it? I hope it's the Kemmel Straight. We get to the Kemmel Straight and things are looking okay. Managing to slam the brakes late there and yet still outbrake everyone and end up being overtaken again. I did briefly make up the place on Ocon, but I've hit so many cars on the side pod this season from that. I do slingshot Ocon there. Do tap Bottas as well. Thankfully get away with it. If I had full damage on right now, I think I'd have retired 3 times from this race already. Slight spoiler alert as well. I do use flashback a couple of times during this race. I've basically made the rule now that after this first season, I'm going to turn flashback off. And if I crash, I crash. That's it. No more forgiveness. This was such a terrible first lap. And then Ocon pit maneuvers me and completely ruined my race. Not that I was going to finish in the points anyway, I don't think. The crashing quali saw to that. But to then be knocked straight back into last place was very, very frustrating.
We're approaching the pit window. You'll be on the mediums.
Thankfully, though, by the end of lap 2, I'm back up to 21st place, overtaking Ocon. And at this point, I'm taking no prisoners, especially with Ocon. I love Ocon in real life, don't get me wrong. But the in-game Ocon, I've had a couple of spats with him already this season. And that spinning me round there was just one too many for my liking. So took care of him. Took care of Mazepin there as well. Ocon also got past him. Nearly drove into the back of Louis as a result of that. But thankfully he managed to take evasive action. Or I managed to take evasive action. One of us managed to take evasive action. And then up Eau Rouge and Radion again. Running wide on the right hand side this time. But yeah, what I was saying was... no more flashbacks after this season. I think for an opening season, it's fine to have that as a safety net. But once you're in Season 2, you really should be doing better. I know I should be doing better. I'm hoping to challenge for some podiums in Season 2. So the plan is to turn off flashbacks. If I crash and I have to have a front wing replacement or something like that, then that's my punishment. If I crash and have to retire from the race, that's definitely my punishment. Now, there might be times where it's not my fault. A bit like Alonso hitting me in Austria. Those are the ones where I don't want to take off flashbacks, but I think I'm still going to have to. Because in real life, it doesn't matter whose fault it is. If you're out of the race, you're out of the race. And that's something I'm going to have to learn to basically put up with. Fighting Ricciardo here then for 14th place. Managed to slingshot him there, which was a beautiful maneuver. Unfortunately, I got a bit too excited about that. At the top of the hill here, and then he got the inside line. I tried to outbrake him, realised there's no point because you can't take the inside line when you're on the outside, and he got past again. And at this point I'm just flustered because I'm annoyed at myself for getting the place and then losing it again. And then up to this bit,
Okay, we can take you this lap.
deciding to pit here, but I could have sworn last year it was really easy to overtake on this section. And maybe it's because I'm a lot more cautious as a driver now. But I just really struggled throughout the race to get any kind of overtakes on anywhere other than the Kemmel Straight. I then got screwed here by the pit assist as well. It like teleported me and then gave me a standing start, which was really annoying. Louis came in to pit behind me, which doesn't affect me too much. If I came in behind him, I'd be slightly miffed. Him coming in behind me is not a real big deal as far as I'm concerned. But the pit stop was so slow, it basically dropped me down to last place again. 20th place it dropped me down to. The only two drivers behind me are Delatraz and Mazepin. So it means I've got to get past Latifi, Schumacher. Ocon somehow got in front of me as well. That was awful, trying to get into the bus stop chicane there. I do in fact get past Latifi here, but again, I'm not very proud of myself for the way I did it. I feel like I should have done that a lot better. It would have been possible to overtake him still, I feel, without hitting him. But yeah, I just at this point I was just done with this race. We've only got like 3 laps left at this point, so it was just a really tough race. The end of lap 1 just killed it for me, really. This, however, was a sumptuous overtake on Schumacher. That was the only clean achievement overtake that I actually got throughout the entire race. All the others, there was a wheel bang of some kind, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it's also not the best thing. And this is us on the final lap then. And again, I think I messed up here. I spun and hit the wall or something stupid. So I do use a flashback. That might have been... I don't know, it was a little bit of a jump cut there, in fact. And again, you know, my girlfriend was in the room with me. She tends to watch me race. She's a big F1 fan now as well, thankfully. And I was just raging at this point. I was screaming at the screen. Every time I lost traction, I just couldn't understand it. There was nothing wrong with the tyre temps. There was nothing wrong with... I didn't think there was anything wrong with the way I was accelerating out of corners. I was short shifting. I was keeping the car straight before accelerating. And yet it would just pull round to the left or pull round to the right, whichever way I was... whichever direction the corner was that I was coming out of. This one I got too much steer and ended up on the curb. This one here I got too much steer. You see I'm really fighting it. And again, I'm raging at this point. I'm so angry at myself as well as the game for little things that happen. That was a perfect line through that corner. Again, I think that was the only time I managed to achieve that. Coming up to probably the hardest part of the track. This bit here is fine, don't get me wrong. But this section here, so this right-hander is also fine. But then you've got to go way to the left and then turn in basically blind into that corner there just to be able to take it flat out. And I wasn't going to risk it on this final lap. I'd already made like 4 or 5 mistakes. Oh, there's where I used flashback as well. I think I went wide and hit the grass and that just caused me to spin out. But ultimately, 17th place, not the worst. I was only 4/10 maybe, or 1.4 off Russell. It could have been better. I think I'd have finished in the points had I not spun on lap 1. I think I would have actually been able to do it. We've got the Italian Grand Prix coming up soon, so I'm really looking forward to testing my mettle on that one. But for now, it is what it is.
A difficult race then on one of the all-time classic circuits, but they persevered to take the win here today. Talk to me, Ants. What was it that set them apart from the competition today?
I feel like consistency was probably the key today. There's being quick, and then there's being quick lap after lap after lap. If you can do that, you can capitalise on other people's errors without making many of your own. And that's an approach that can push you a long way up the field.
Red Bull are our winners today after showcasing some incredible driving. There's been a huge push from them lately to stay competitive with the other teams, and they're certainly proving themselves. Max Verstappen should be pleased with his performance, making gains at the top of the table. Some amazing talent out on the track today, but Anthony, who would you pick as your driver of the day?
Definitely Antonio Giovinazzi, isn't it? No matter what the rest of the field threw at him, he didn't put a foot wrong. Superb drive from him.
It's time to check out the constructors' standings. Red Bull pull further ahead in the standings. Well, Ant, an end to another fantastic weekend of racing. Thanks to everyone who joined us, and we'll see you for the next one.
So you can get a quick look at the results here. We're going to go have a chat with Claire in a second, but I just wanted to interject here and say I came 17th and Louis came 21st.
Well, things didn't really go your way today. Let's have your take. Your battle got a bit heated, didn't it? You're surpassing all expectations. Can anything or anyone stop you? Things were close between you and your rival, but it looks like you're coming up top, doesn't it? Great. Well, that's everything.
So here we are with the race highlights then. I just kind of want to talk about how I feel this season has gone so far. Ultimately, I think it's been a pretty decent first half to the season. This does take us to the halfway point now. I believe this is the 10th race of the season. This start off the line, I'm really nailing my starts at the moment. And I don't know if that would remain the case if I started using clutch as well. But right now, short shifting into second and getting the outside line does help me on the first corner a lot more. It keeps me out of trouble. This is where the incident started to happen between myself and Esteban. Getting past him there. I don't know whether he had a vendetta for me or something like that, but, you know, it's about to hit the fan, that's for sure. Coming up to the bus stop chicane. Running wide there didn't help, and also having Bottas right in front of me the entirety of the approach there. That's why I ended up, like, losing traction and ended up going through the polystyrene. This is where he hits me. He takes himself out of the equation as well, but that's where my race ended, ultimately. And I think that's my problem with this season. That's what I was getting onto. I have too many moments where I cost myself by getting into scrapes like that, and it's not necessary. I need to learn when to fight and when to back out, and I am starting to. There have been some really good races. France, for example, where the only time I used flashback was for losing traction when it was raining. Britain, kind of. Not so much. There's me hitting the back of Mazepin. Again, that would have been me out of the race had full damage been on. What else was I going to say? Something to do with... Oh, yeah. Austria was a bit more messy. I had some tests with Alonso, should we say, and Ricciardo. And this race was just a bit... I don't know whether I was just tired after work or what, but I was just very, very chaotic throughout this race. Lunging when I didn't need to. And I know Spa's got quite a lot of overtaking points. You can overtake going into turn 1. You can overtake at the top of the hill. You can overtake coming down the hill as well if you really want to. But I just kept feeling like I needed to stick a wheel in early, like there as well. I've seen so many cars overtake there, and I can still overtake there without having to shoot the corner. You know, I can slow down in time. But anyway, that does it for this week, guys. Thanks very much for watching. Don't forget to hit the like button if you enjoyed the video, and of course if you enjoyed the series, drop those comments down below, all that good stuff. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button. If you have already subscribed to the channel, thank you guys for your continued support, and until next time, I will see you soon.